Hi, my name is Ozzie Jurock. I'm the host of OzBuzz, where we interview eclectic and interesting people in the various fields that all end up with the word real estate. And we always talk about Vancouver Island, but mostly we talk about Victoria because it's also the capital of British Columbia. But we rarely have an opportunity to talk about with an expert about Vancouver Island. I mean, Nanaimo, magical places like Parksville and so on, all the way up. And we're very fortunate today to have with us Ian Thompson. Ian Thompson has been around 20 years, specialized in downsizing and estate sales, and his partner, Greg Bullock, has even been in the business for 30 years. So welcome, Greg.
Thank you, Ozzie.
Ian.
No problem. Yes, it's been a great run. Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity today.
Well, you know, the interesting thing is that all buyers have big concerns, but is there anything specific that comes to mind when you look at buyers' concern nowadays?
Well, I think the buyers, and I got a text from a buyer just this week. It was a lady, a family that's been looking for a house in Lanceville, which is just north of Nanaimo, for a long time. And you know, when we're out looking at houses and you step inside when you think, okay, this is it, this is the one. And I texted her and I said, I'm standing in the house for you. Let's go. And she didn't get back to me for a week. And I thought, okay. And then finally she sends me back. She says, you know, I'm just feeling anxious.
Yeah.
I'm just feeling anxious about the economy. I'm feeling stressed financially, you know, about getting a bigger mortgage. I'm just not comfortable moving forward. Obviously, everybody's not like that, but I think there's a certain segment of the society that, I mean, let's face it, everything's expensive, isn't it? I mean,
well, it's inflation. Yeah, I mean, everybody says the government has 3.8% inflation, and that's what it is. But then you go shopping. I got my Camembert index, and it went from $8 to $14 in 2 years. Nothing you and I buy, whether it's rent or gas, or nothing goes up to 3.8%. And so, yeah, and it's to a large extent, our markets, fortunately or unfortunately, are also sort of very emotional, right? It's how you feel and perceive. It's hot. I got to get in.
And it's not commercial, you know, it's just math and commercial. It works or it doesn't. This is my own house. And
well, you know, you're sure. And, you know, it's understandable. But the reality is that we have been in an inflationary, crazy world for 50 years. I mean, our average house in Vancouver Island was $13,000 50 years ago. And today, the average is about $1 million something, right?
Yeah.
And so clearly inflation is there, just not all at the same time going in a straight line. So we have timing is an issue, but I think sometimes the best time to buy is when everybody is running away from the market. You know, it's sort of, now I know.
I certainly feel that way with condominiums right now, because we are seeing some investors wanting to sell. You know, the rents are not going up. We know they're capped, right? But strata fees sure aren't capped. I mean,
Texas,
that's the last thing they're capped.
Yeah.
And so, you know, some of the buildings that were all bought by investors, some of those people want to get out, and you can see prices coming down. So, you know, it's a good opportunity to get into the market now, because yes, your interest rate's higher, but
the thing is, I understand
are much lower.
You have a lot of your condos are owned by investors, no?
Yes, they are about 60%.
60%, yeah. Or those that are for sale, I guess,
yeah.
Wow.
Are either tenanted or vacant. So, you know, they're the ones that are driving them. And when they want to go, then they basically duke it out with each other and think, I'm going to go down 50 and okay, I'm going down 75. Somebody's going to say, I have to go. We were dealing with a couple, and the guy finally said, you know what, that's enough down for me. I'm just going to swallow hard and keep it, right? Because I don't want to go that low. But unfortunately, when you couple that with the high rates and the buyers, that you kind of at that standoff where a lot of things are just sitting, unfortunately. Sure. And that's where it gets difficult when we're talking to sellers, right?
But that's also, again, there's always, you know, the owl and the nightingale thing. For somebody, it's an owl, and another one, it's a nightingale, because the opportunity is there. Where do you want to be when five buyers wrestle each other to the ground in the living room of the seller, and one pays $50,000 more than the guy even wanted? Or do you want somebody that actually, bring an offer, put it on paper, right?
I think it's been a while. I think it's been a while since real estate was on sale.
Yeah.
I mean, I heard that last week. I was in Toronto at a conference, and you know, when was the last time that we could say real estate was on sale?
Yeah.
It's been years, and now it is a real opportunity for those that can swing it, those that can get some help. Lots of people getting help from parents or whatever to make it happen. Because if you're going to be in your house you can look out 10 years and say, this is my family home,
Sure.
then you're down in the price, and it's a good time to do it.
Well, that's the bank of mom and pop, and it's becoming more and more prevalent. This the down payment has to come from somewhere else because of the crazy inflationary environment we have. The crazy thing also is that people tell me, well, the inflation is going down, we're going to go on outright deflation. Well, maybe we will, maybe we won't. But I do know that we have some $300 trillion, an unimaginable amount of money that's owed to the rest of the world. We'll never pay it back, ever. The only way it's going to be paid back is with inflation. And I wrote my book in 1998, Forget About Location. And the point was, I felt like with Milton Friedman, who said that inflation is primarily a monetary phenomenon, and we were creating more and more money, and that will always settle down in hard assets. But not, if you look from, say, in the 80s, it was 70,000, now it's 2 million in Vancouver. But it wasn't like that. They were very distinct areas in 1993, a 13% mortgage, in 2008, the end of the world, Lehman Brothers and whatnot, right? We went through all that though, and now we are 2.3 million on an incredible price. So we will go higher, but we have those tops in between, and that's the buying time. And I guess that's the point you made as an investor or as a homeowner. You should at least look and take a good idea with a quality person like yourself. I'm interested when you say specializing in downsizing. Are there many people downsizing?
Oh, it's a big thing. And I mean, it's the reality of where we live on Vancouver Island. Many people come to retire here. And a lot of people come without their families. They're here from Alberta, they're here from Ontario. A couple move to the island, and then unfortunately, it's usually the guy that passes away first. So we have a lot of homeowners on their own, and they're 80 years old, and they just can't do this anymore. It's just not their thing. Overwhelmed is the word that we use. When I do my downsizing seminars, that's the number one thing. People come and they're like, I don't even know where to start. I have a slide that I run. It shows the guy opening his garage door, and he and his son is standing beside him, and it's just jammed. like your garage or my garage, Ozzie. I don't know.
Yeah.
Could have taken it at mine, right?
Yeah.
And the old man says, yeah, one day, son, this is all going to be yours.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
so,
that's
that's a classic situation of being overwhelmed, not knowing what to do. And so I have a real solid list of suppliers, Ozzie, the ones that show up, right? That's the first thing.
Yeah.
Try and get people that actually will show up and do the work. But I've got a great group, and they can go in and get the job done. I mean, the last one we did, the daughter came from Montreal, all the way to Nanaimo, and she's here for a week.
Yeah.
So I've got mom's, like, a beautiful condo, big 1,700 square foot condo, and I don't know what to do with all this stuff. And so do you. And so, the stager comes in, what she doesn't want, she can sell. It's on the market now, and we'll get it done for her. So yeah, there is a lot of downsizing. There's also people that are saying, I don't know where I'm going to go. We always struggle with that part. Sure, I'll sell my 3,000 square foot home, but trying to find an affordable rancher. And unfortunately for people, it used to be, for a long time when you downsized, I wanted to sell my house for $600,000 and buy a patio home for $200,000 and keep $200,000.
Yeah.
Now the new patio homes are $700,000, and I'm still selling for $650,000. I have to pay to downsize, and it's like, well, wait a minute, that's not what I had in mind.
Idea. Yeah,
that wasn't the idea at all. So we've got people going to to smaller communities up island. They're looking to downsize there. Or, I met a great guy last week, and he's building granny flats, they're called. They're 700-800 square feet, and you can pretty much drop them in anybody's backyard. And so I'm going to sell my house for $1.5 million, and for $400,000, I'm going to put it in my son's backyard there. Now I have a nice space close to my family. I can keep my dog, which is always an issue. People downsizing into strata.
Yeah.
Strata doesn't want, and unfortunately, a lot of people have 2 dogs, and I'm like, oh no, don't have 2 dogs. Don't have 2 cats. Whatever you do, don't have 2 cats.
Yeah.
A couple here. They're so frustrated. It's been 8 months. Every strata we go to look at, 1 cat.
Yeah.
1 cat.
Yeah.
And so there
we did a video with Corina, who specializes in putting people into old age homes, and it's a new world. She says actually it's not really downsizing into it; they're getting upsizing into lifestyle. They're right now in that big house with all the stuff cluttered, forever, and
Yeah.
you don't want to throw this away, you don't want to do this. And I don't want to be an old age home. Well, but they can buy into a place, and all of a sudden they got movie nights, they got swimming pools,
Yeah.
they got hot tubs, they got, all that is part of and it's upsizing lifestyle. Her own mother went, she was fighting with her, all the time, didn't want to do it, and now she's one of the biggest proponents. Her life is almost like restarted. So downsizing is not a bad thing. So, I mean, when I look at even you were just talking about garages, not only is my stuff in there, my son's stuff is in there, my daughter's stuff is in there, right? So we then put it all into storage. And the guy he's been moving forever, and he says, "Oh, do you realize what I do is I put people like your stuff away, and then you pay $400 a month to store it. Then you call me in 5 years and I drive it all to the garbage heap, because you realize you could have bought brand new furniture at $400
yeah.
a month at $5,000 a year."
Well, and I think your point about a brand new life, because loneliness is really a thing.
Yeah.
It's a big thing for people that are older, whatever older is. I mean, I'm 65, but a lot of people are 75, 80. They don't go out much. Their family doesn't live here, so they can't get together for dinners.
Yeah.
And so that's the upside of moving into a retirement home. And we do downsizing seminars there for people that are thinking of moving, and just exploring those options that you mentioned about, hey, this is a different lifestyle for us, and now I feel better about myself, because that's what it's all about, isn't it? How do I feel about myself today? How do I feel like I want to participate in things, or otherwise you're kind of shrinking in that inward thing, and that's not good for people. So I get, that's the biggest, I would say, that's the biggest benefit I get, and the feeling I get is watching people that move in there and go, wow, I should have done this before. Like this is just great.
Well, and the thing is, there's so many new things. There's the new technologies. I mean, I play on my iPhone. Right now, I changed to Samsung, which was a real mistake. Not because it just have a new learning curve. But now I figured it out. But I'm playing computer games with my granddaughter and my grandson. And I'm playing another computer game. We call it the Clash of Clans, where we belong with 50 guys, and we're connected through the phone. And I'm, my kids are all on Facebook, and I have to learn to shut up, right? Because they don't remember that I'm there, and if they misspell something, I want to go in there and be the old grandfather. No, shut up. So if they don't know, because once you realize, if you're older, you now in this new world actually know what your grandkids are doing, because before you never knew what they were doing.
Never knew. No.
Anyway, so we embracing all that, but not everybody can, or they just were not in an environment. And then you have the whole idea of, I used to tell my real estate, when I was a branch manager, I used to tell them, woo an estate lawyer, right? There's sometimes those estates, people are fighting over the inheritance because the old guy and the old gal didn't write down the will properly or whatever. All of a sudden you have, so you need a specialist. When you mentioned that somebody comes for a week, and in that week they have to change somebody's life, what to throw away, what to keep, what to memorize. I have a box full of pictures from my parents. And my father was a great shooter of landscapes in black and white and pictures. I have no idea where these scapes are from. There's no people in it because he enjoyed the beauty of the landscape. And I'm keeping this, and I'm thinking, I mean, one day, now what about us now, this new world? I mean, last night I was at a cocktail party for Downtown Vancouver Association, and it's on top of the Simon Fraser circular restaurant area. The views were spectacular. I must have taken 200 pictures. Now my kids, once I die, they're going to see them and say, oh God, there's what. So the point is, one day you have to make that decision. So to have an expert on your side. Now, something that is not so happy to talk about is our BC government has made some changes to the short-term rental area, Airbnb, that has impacted Vancouver Island.
Yeah, it's impacted us like it's impacted everybody in BC. And I kind of have two opinions about that. On the one hand, you have to applaud the guy, because he did come into this role, our new premier, as saying, real estate's my thing, didn't he? He said, I'm going to stand up and make changes. And I mean, time will tell whether they were all good or bad. I'm sure some will be and some won't, but at least he's doing what he said he was going to do. I hear from a lot of people, local politicians here, especially, about the whole infrastructure is woefully inadequate.
Well,
it's
the
not
thing
even
is, even if it does
that.
happen, I have a developer who's invested in a small town BC and spent, 27 or $28 million buying the property, and all of a sudden, the very thing that he was part of the money that we're raising, that developers raising today, are from investors, and for some reason, the investors are always the bad guys, and yet you cannot get financing unless they have 65 to 70% of pre-sales, or you can't get construction financing, and it's tighter, right? The banks are getting much more careful. They look at the developer sharply. And then, so the developer finally gets, sure, we want homeowners, but the investors are driving the business. At the same time as a premier or the prime minister says, we want more houses, you're stopping the developer from building. Says, I can't make any money doing this, and particularly if I don't have short-term investors. So it's a tough thing. Particularly up island, you have a number of investors that bought with that in mind. But again, from the buyer's perspective, it's probably an opportunity.
Yeah, I think so. I think, on the other side of it, I think for sellers, it's tough times in lots of situations. And I just ran these numbers. I always talk to people about months of inventory, how many months is it going to take? For instance, over 1.3 million, we have enough inventory. It's going to take 14 months worth of inventory to sell all those
current sales.
Yeah. And so I have this great quote that I found from Charlie Munger, right? It's important to face reality. It's especially important when you don't like it. And that is the tough discussions that we're having now with people. Hey, I know your neighbor got 1.8 2 years ago in a mad frenzy and multiple offers. That's not happening today. We're hoping to get 1.3. Like, it's a big difference when you take out the multiple offer part of it. And that's the hard part for people.
It comes back to the psychology of the market, right? And the psychology is negative, and it is clearly, it's rarely getting better. We just did an interview with, I do the weekly podcast with Michael Campbell, and this is the first 2 weeks in December that we're taping this. But we made the point that we have such a confusing world. It's better to be at 8%, but that's what it is going to be. I mean, you and I probably made a lot of money when interest rates were 10%, right? When I was president of Royal LePage a long time ago, I stood on national TV and I said 11% is a good rate for the family, right? Because we came from 16, right? So it was quite normal, right? So now we're getting, but the problem now is half the world says it's going to go up. We got Jamie Dimon saying it's going to go to 7%, and he's running one of the largest bank in the world. And at the same time in Canada, Benjamin Toll, from the Bank of Montreal, the TD Bank, they're all saying it's in April, rates are coming down.
April, I saw Benjamin last week in Toronto speak.
Yeah, so what do we do? I mean, I'm a buyer. It's the confusion, the uncertainty, right? In the United States, of course, it's an election year. And an election year generally means that the federal government in the United States does not want to be seen to favor either one of the sides. So generally, we used to tell our people, have your mortgage come due during an election year. Usually the rates stay the same or go down, right? Because they don't want to. So you have all this, and so here all I want to do is buy a house, and all I want to do is, what's the economy going to? I'm worrying about things. What's my ham going to be worth? And so I firmly believe it's better off to be in real estate than not. But timing is important, right? So, but now somebody can call you, and you have probably more time than you had 2 years ago, right? To analyze and sift through all the things that are out there. So you have would you say real estate is on sale right now then? I mean, are there some
I would say in certain, asset classifications, they're all different. We can talk single family and condominium and patio homes. I mean, patio homes are selling quickly because there aren't many. And that's the other thing with density. Density means everything is built on a 40-foot lot, which can only mean stairs, right? So you're coming in, then you're going up to the kitchen, then you're going up to bedrooms. Well, that's not what a lot of people want when they downsize. And so unfortunately, we don't get a lot of single family ranchers built. So those tend to be holding their value if they're in good condition, just from the sheer fact that there aren't many.
It's
to
one
be
level,
found.
no stairs, you know, and
Yeah.
it's usually a larger piece of land.
Yeah, absolutely. There's always a good news. The good news for us is everybody still wants to be here. Not everybody, but
Yeah.
this is a place for Canada to come to, right? Vancouver Island. A lot of people talk about it. Wow, I'm lucky to be here, and I am lucky. We talked about that before we started. What a beautiful day here. I mean, it's just fantastic, isn't it? And
And it's in December, you know, and we have just
that's right.
something in Calgary, they have snow, right? I mean, you know.
I lived in Winnipeg 7 years. I get it. Oh yeah. And tomorrow my wife and I are taking that new ferry, right? That we can talk about, right? They just went by 100,000 passengers in their first, I don't know if it's 3 months, maybe 4 months. So
and some of Vancouver Island, I really like. I mean, Nanaimo has changed so much. The city has, you know, we have a central hospital system there. You have so much going on from the government perspective. There's employment. Everybody thinks they're only retirees. That's not really true.
No.
I mean, a lot of young people are out there. A lot of companies go there because their staff can afford to buy the house. They don't have to spend $2 million for a house.
Yeah, and COVID changed a lot of things, right? People brought their job with them. I mean, that was the thing.
Sure. Yeah.
I've got lots of people that bought beautiful acreages in Parksville, Qualicum that came from Vancouver, where they had, small, sold that for $2 million and came over here. Oh, the guy's got horses and he loves it. Works for an accounting firm, travels around. This is great. Why would I stay there? So we're very fortunate we still have that, and that's, I don't know, it's a benefit. You can't say a benefit of COVID, but I think a realization for people that I don't have to actually be in Vancouver. I don't have to be anywhere to work.
It's not really that far, you know. I used to take my boat to Secret Cove on the Sunshine Coast, and really, if you measure the ferry ride, you know, we're talking 2.5 hours from Vancouver downtown. Well, that's not really a big deal. And on Vancouver Island, ever since you built the Island Highway, you know, it opened up, you know, Comox, you know, all of those areas up there. So from Nanaimo, an hour away, you are in pristine countryside, you know. So it's really a very, very special.
We're very lucky, and we have so many ways to get back and forth now. I can take the helijet, I can take the ferry, I can, float plane. There's lots of different ways, and get back quickly if you actually have to.
Yeah,
it's less and less now, but if you had to once a week, it wouldn't be an issue, right?
Yeah, I know. I used to fly into Victoria and Nanaimo all the time, you know, and I loved it, you know. I mean, there's nothing like flying over all the islands. It's almost like a magical place. And so really, so when you're a buyer, maybe now is your time, right? It's funny you mentioned Charlie Munger, but his partner, of course, Warren Buffett's favorite saying was that when everybody's crying, you should be buying. And everybody's yelling, you should be selling, right? So if everybody's crying, maybe your time should be out there. But what would be the key for sellers right now to do?
Well, I think the key for sellers is to, answer the 3 questions when I go to see people. And because sometimes they have trouble answering these questions. Number 1 is, why are we selling? And for a lot of people, you sort of get stuck. Well, you phoned me to sell my house, but why is that? Well, I'm getting a divorce, or I'm, what's the compelling reason? And that's the word. What's the compelling reason to get in the market? And the second question is, how important is it that it sells in 60 days? Right? And the third one is, what will you do if it doesn't sell? And that is a real stopper for people. Well, why wouldn't it sell? Well, the reality is that most homes on the market today aren't selling. And still the consumer doesn't know that. Why would they? It's not their business. It's our business. All they know is they saw a sold sign, so homes must be selling. But we know that that's not the case. And so sometimes we're going to see people and they say, hey, I didn't know it was like that. I don't want to put it on the market. And I think that's a good idea. Like, unless you're really motivated for some reason, job transfer, who knows what it is, then this isn't the time to shoot for the moon, because it's not going to happen. And if you do decide to put it on, then it has to show really well.
And you have to be competitive, right?
You have to be competitive. And I think buyers are, I think that there's less of an appetite for renovations today. And I think that has to do with blended families. Everybody's got 2 jobs and 2 kids and running around. I don't have time to spend all weekend. I probably have another job just to keep this place going. So the homes that are tired meaning aren't renovated, haven't done anything since the 70s, frankly. There's lots of those homes around. And, you and I know the cost of renovating is high.
Sure.
And so those homes aren't selling. I was just talking with another realtor the other day. We have a great area of Nanaimo called Solera. You know where the ferry comes in there?
Yeah.
Beautiful. That was like the area of Nanaimo when it was constructed in the 50s and 60s. And there's big homes in there that aren't selling because they just need too much work. They're just,
And
like,
the price
there's
is,
overwhelming word again. Right now I walk in and think, holy smokes,
Oh.
I'm going to have to do everything here.
and the price is not necessarily that inducive either.
No, so we have to, somehow that has to match. We have to get more motivated or try and
Yeah.
rent it.
Yeah.
You know, we didn't talk about rentals, but I know there are a lot of purpose-built rentals on the island and more under construction. And
Not
I
under
think,
construction as well.
yeah, there's a lot
So
more
then
coming.
rents would be coming down, would you say? Or if
Well,
there's-
yeah, that's what, you know, our property management office is saying, rents are coming down a little bit.
Mhm.
And certainly as the older suites now, we're going to have to start updating. You know, if you own one from the 60s or 70s or whatever, it's time to update it to stay current, to stay competitive with the other units in town. But yeah, the tenants have more sway. They have more sway today than they used to.
Well, the sales are down, you know, maybe 30-odd%, and
Yeah, about 30% in single family.
listings are up, right? So generally that speaks towards a shift in the buyer's market. But I think you make a very good point. We always give a blanket statement. Sales are down, but no, there are pockets where sales are quite strong because people want to be in that area. They want to have that kind of a house, maybe that rancher you talked about.
Yeah.
But overall, you know, the individual, it's funny, you know, I think today, if you don't know MLS, you know, you're not a buyer. I mean, most buyers, they probably come into your office more educated than at any other time, you know, because they're always looking every day.
And that's the discussion we're having with sellers. There's no surprise people. They don't just come to town and think, oh, this is lovely. They know exactly what the house is worth before they get there.
Yeah.
And so you have that one time to shine where they walk in and think, boy, and the buyers know this is too much money. They tell you right away. They don't have to go away and think about it. Think, geez, I don't know, Ian, you know, I don't think, what do you think? I think this is too high.
Yeah.
So that's the importance of, let's set it right in the beginning. We always give people 3 choices. You know, when we go to see people, we're going to say, hey, this is the sell now price. I want to go right now. This is market value. And this is if you want to wait. There's 3, there's a range in there. But, you know, the people that want to wait, then I'm kind of backing up and been thinking, okay, well, you know, how many listings do I want to carry that just won't sell? They just won't sell.
That's right. Yeah.
Right.
But
And
it's
I
a
don't
sign
think
of a professional, you know, when you start out in a business, you take any listing at any price,
sure.
anywhere.
Of course.
But you're not really doing the owner a favor. You know, sometimes you need to talk turkey with somebody. You know, we had an example in West Vancouver, price was up at 4.2 million. Every realtor I talked to thought, well, shouldn't be worth any more than 3.5 maybe, right? But 3.5 I probably could get, which is a crazy price, but it's West Vancouver.
Right.
Well, finally, after 3 months, brought it down to 4.1, then 3.9. In the meantime, the realtor says, well, now actually there's a couple of houses came up at 3.3 that are competition. So by the time they actually went to 3.5, there were no buyers in that price range anymore. And in fact, sold for 3.2. They sold for 300,000 less than what the realtor thought they could have gotten if they priced it right to begin with. Right? Now, nobody has a magic ball. And as a realtor, there may be the oddball person, for particularly in a home that's emotional. There's an apple tree in front of the kitchen window. That's I want, but you know, you can't do, you know, can't predict that. But overall, you have to. Sometimes you have to put the person in your car and say, let's take a look at what your competition is. And they're surprised how much competition there is, maybe at a better price, you know. So it's important to hire a professional like yourself and your company, particularly when you specialize. It makes so much sense, right, to do that. So any pearls of wisdom for 2024?
Well, I think the pearl of wisdom is, if you're a home seller, is to invest in getting it ready to sell, right? I tell people 1% of the asking price. If it's $1 million, it's $10,000. How would you spend $10,000 to get your home ready to sell? Not $50,000 on a new bathroom. Don't do that. That's just not going to happen. But 10%, 10,000, you can do 5,000 in landscaping in a heartbeat and totally change the look of that house. And, you know, the purple front door that you thought was cool, it's not anymore, right? Let's get the purple carpet out that your daughter thought was great and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Right. So that's for them. And for buyers, I think if you can financially do it, soon, Ozzie, you know, as soon as the Bank of Canada governor, if it's April, May, June, pulls back, right?
Yeah.
A little bit more, I think the market could go again.
Well, and
mean,
that's it. If you believe that, I believe inflation is here to stay, then hard assets are the place to be down the road. And I don't know when the music starts again, and we don't know. I know in 2008 and 2009, we turned within 8 months. From February 2009,
I'm trying to remember.
we had major developers in Vancouver slash prices by 25%. 7 months later, the same developers blamed the marketer, saying, hey, we should have waited, right? It's, you know, normally it's maybe 18 months. Then it was, you know, much, much faster from the bottom to the top. We don't know, but what we do know, people want to live somewhere. It's a Canadian dream. And we
Well, that's what makes our market, our country, different than Canada. I have an American customer who lives in Seattle. Yeah. He just bought something in Phoenix, and he's, you know, there was multiple offers because he's got 25 years to go on a 30-year term at a low rate.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's why it's all different here. Every 2, 3, 4, 5 years, we're like, we got our hair on fire. What's the rates doing? It doesn't happen like that there.
Well, we also, you know, for some 50 years, we had 45 out of 50 years, our 5-year term was more than 5%. It was only 5 years were below that. And that was 2016, 17, you know, like recently. So people, younger-ish people, that's all they know. They don't realize that 7-8% was quite normal, right? And so, but anyways, it's an interesting, wonderful world, and you live in the best part, Vancouver Island.
We're very lucky.
Dream for many, and it is not just retirees, and the prices are not crazy Vancouver or crazy Toronto. No. So if you have an interest in going to Vancouver Island, you know, Ian Thompson is the man to see. He's going to give me permission to put his phone number or certainly his email on the. If you are seeing this on a video, it'll look below in the information guide. If you're hearing it on our podcast, we direct you to the OzBuzz website, ozbuzz.ca, and again, we'll feature Ian Thompson there. Ian, thank you so much for taking the time and enlightening us about the beautiful Vancouver Island.
Thanks, Oz. Have a great day.
You too.